What's going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday. Welcome to another edition of Mean Streets presented by So Rare, here live on a FTN Network YouTube page, also Game Plus Network. Welcome back. It's been a few days. I'm sure there's going to be a little bit of rust. Quan's just rolling with the scroller. He told me this morning he forgets how to do the show. I think I forget how to host the show. It's a good thing that we have Alex Blickle here in a little bit. We're going to talk about the PGA Championship, which gets underway tomorrow at Oak Hill. Back in Oak Hill, I think Jason Duffner won in 2013. I should know that, prepping here for the show. I'm pretty sure Blickle will come in with that. It's been a long time, right, since the Duff man took it down several years ago. But we will talk about the odds up at the top, course fit, like we always do with Blickle, get a few of his thoughts and maybe some DFS thoughts and talk about the championship overall. A lot to get to, as per usual on this show. We're going to talk a little bit of NBA, recap last night's action between the Lakers and the Nuggets. That was a really entertaining game. Joker, man, this guy is just phenomenal. What he is doing is just, it's absolutely spectacular. It really is. Just another amazing showing from him last night. We're going to recap the game. Nuggets won. It's a close one. They were really pretty much in control the whole time. They had massive leads, and the Lakers were kind of chipping away at it here and there. We got game one of the Eastern Conference Finals happening tonight between the Heat and the Celtics. The NHL Conference Finals begin tomorrow, as you see there, Boston and Miami, and then the Nuggets have that 1-0 series lead on the Lakers. And then tomorrow, the NHL Conference Finals will get underway with the Carolina Hurricanes and yes, right there, Florida Panthers. Florida Panthers have been the most surprising, most impressive team, in my opinion, here as we have the Final Four in the West. Nothing really surprising. The Vegas Golden Knights, they were the top team in the Western Conference, and the one team that we had here in the Final Four correctly picked was the Dallas Stars, and they just squeaked by the Seattle Kraken in Game 7. I was in Edmonton for Game 6. I'm not going to lie, it was kind of disappointing. The atmosphere was good to start, but there's a lot of nervous energy in the building at Rogers Center. There was a lot, or I guess it's Rogers Place. There's a lot of Rogers Center, Rogers Park, Rogers Diamond, Rogers Center, Rogers Place. It was great to start, and one of the best things I love about Edmonton, and they've been doing it for years, is, and I've noticed other venues have kind of taken this on, is they'll start the national anthem in the first 10 seconds with the singer, and then the entire crowd sings it. So it's 20K plus just giving her with the anthem, and that was fantastic. And then you get the Oilers go chants, and then there's a quick goal by the Golden Knights 30 seconds in, and it's like a pin. You can hear a pin drop in the barn. It was really, really quiet, but it was a good experience. I've been to a handful of playoff games before, and I'm not going to lie, that one, there's just a lot of nervous energy in the building with the Oilers facing elimination, and it was still a really good time. We'll talk about those two series in just a little bit. We got Conn Smythe odds. I wanted to show you guys an overall Stanley Cup odds, as the Carolina Hurricanes are favored to win the Stanley Cup. We're going to talk about NBA mock draft, top 10. The Spurs won the NBA draft lottery last night. Our guy, Zach Graham, a.k.a. Quisenberg DFS, on Cloud 9, just talking before I got on here, and he says, listen, you guys still have Luka, Dallas guy here, Spurs, pretty big rival, until he wants to come team up with Wemby and Pop, brackets Ducks. Stop it, Zach. Zach's going to come on in the future, and we'll talk about how we think the draft will unfold, at least the top 10, 15 picks. And then we'll get him back on when it's all said and done. Just like we did last year with Zach, when the draft was done, we talked about it from a fantasy basketball standpoint, a dynasty standpoint, just an overall NBA standpoint. But of course, Wemby, he's just another legend the Spurs are going to get, right? Robinson and Duncan just added to the pile of greats that they've had in San Antonio. So the Chicago Blackhawks and the San Antonio Spurs, the NBA is a little bit tougher to tank with the 14% odds for the top three teams to win the NBA draft lottery, where the Anaheim Ducks had a 25% chance to get Connor Bedard in the NHL. The Blackhawks certainly tanked, and the Spurs have been doing some things over the past couple of years, but they get their guy, and he certainly is a game changer for sure. So a lot, as per usual, to get to. We're going to scan the diamond as well with a few MLB picks and a few MLB props. So we'll take a quick break now. Blickle's in the house. We're going to talk PGA Championship, see who he's feeling, some statistics he's looking at when he's putting together some of his DFS lineups. He is in here next. A lot, as per usual, to get to. You have any comments, any questions, leave them there. Dalvin Cook's in the news. If you're watching now, I'd love to hear maybe some potential landing spots for Dalvin Cook as well. He's not even really in the news. The Minnesota Vikings they switched up their Twitter background, and they removed Cook for Alexander Madison. So I don't know, somebody noticed that, and now it's all anybody's talking about. But there have been some reports over the past couple of weeks we brought up on this show that if he is cut by June 1st, they save themselves a little bit of cash. Same sort of deal with Zeke, and Dallas let go of Zeke a while ago. So Dalvin Cook's a really good running back. I think he's got a lot more to offer than Zeke or Leonard Fournette if he does get released by the Vikings here in the next couple of weeks. So a lot of football as well here on the show. Alex is in here next. Keep your lock. Back in a couple.
Play So Rare MLB, a free revolutionary fantasy game and marketplace that transforms fans into general managers. Build your team with ownable digital player cards. Collect, buy, sell, and trade to optimize your lineup. Compete against So Rare managers from around the world. Climb leaderboards and advance to elite competitions. Based on your player's performance on the field, win rewards like game tickets, merch, and much more. Draft your set of free cards now at sorare.com/MLB. Play So Rare MLB, a free revolutionary fantasy game and marketplace that transforms fans into general managers. Build your team with ownable digital player cards. Collect, buy, sell, and trade to optimize your lineup. Compete against So Rare managers from around the world. Climb leaderboards and advance to elite competitions. Based on your player's performance on the field, win rewards like game tickets, merch, and much more. Draft your set of free cards now at sorare.com/MLB.
Welcome back in. Alex Blickle 1 joins us from FTN, PGA Championship. Happy Wednesday. Thanks for taking the time as always. How many MLB Prize Picks entries did you cash while I was gone for the past few days? I know you probably got a couple.
I've got a couple, mostly 5 or 6s lately. Every night it's been something. 2 nights ago, Kyle Tucker had 3 flyouts to the wall, and he was the only miss in the play, so that one was painful. But coming off a really good week in PGA, both DFS and Prize Picks, so it's an exciting time.
Coming in hot. It is an exciting time. I always bring you up in the video that we did, about a month ago now, how to win at Prize Picks, how to be a successful Prize Picks player. So go check that out. It is free on our YouTube page to go check out. But promo code FTN, they'll match your first deposit 100% up to $100 over at prizepicks.com. We have the free pick tracker where you are giving your picks. And of course, you're going to have some in the PGA as well, not just heading into round 1, but throughout the weekend as we do talk PGA Championship. And it was Duffner, right? I went back and looked. I know that it was 2013. That was a while ago, but we're back here at Oak Hill.
Yeah, kind of a long time ago now, and it doesn't feel like when I saw it was Oak Hill, I was like, boy, they hosted like 5 years ago. Nope, it was double that.
It was double that. I know when I saw it too, I remember when they announced it, but I wasn't really thinking about it. And then a month ago, as we get closer to the major, I start, I hear where it's at. I'm like, Oak Hill again? We're back here already? Man, time just flies. I remember at the time, it was like really challenging, right? The course itself was challenging. A lot of players were talking about how challenging it was. And is it going to be the same sort of deal, I suppose, here, like 10 years later?
Yeah, I think it's going to play really tough. A lot of the players have talked about how tough it's set up to be. We know they're growing the rough out more and more each year. It looks like some of these mornings are going to be quite cold, so it's going to play even longer with that. Yeah, I think this could be a very fun week in terms of seeing some difficult scores.
Any storylines you're looking at? I know, like for me, I talk a little bit more storylines than I probably should. Last major, at the Masters, everyone's talking about the Grand Slam with Rory, and this time around it's Smythe, right? Who could capture the Grand Slam. And even if Rahm wins, then maybe he could capture the Grand Slam a little bit later on in the year with the Open, as he was able to take down the Masters. Is there any like storylines, or we could tie this into course fit, your course fit model, anything you're taking a look at here heading into tomorrow?
There are a million storylines on the tour, and obviously, like the ones that are going to come to the forefront are going to be the stories involved around the guys who are at the top of the leaderboard. I think maybe my favorite storyline so far this year has been the way that Rahm and Scheffler have been able to separate themselves from everybody else. It seems like we haven't really had a big tournament where either of the two aren't in contention, let alone winning. So it'll be really cool to see, can Rory get himself back in that conversation, make it a big 3 again instead of a big 2, that sort of thing. My guy Cameron Young, can he finally take that step forward, get a win? I don't think it would surprise anyone at this point if his first PGA Tour win is a major championship. So lots of really exciting stories, and it's just going to come down to who's at the top of the leaderboard to see which ones come to the forefront.
And as Conn just showed, you want to bring it up again. These are from DraftKings, of course, the top of the board here. And we do have Scheffler and Rahm up at, on the board, up at the top, and then graphic wise as well. Rory at 11-1, Cantlay at 18-1, Brooks at 18-1. The LIV guys showed up. A few of them, in the last major, they were hanging around. Brooks was great the first 3 rounds, not so much in the final round. And of course, Phil had a great final round, and even at times, we saw a few others like Patrick Reed up near the top of the leaderboard as well. Justin Thomas won last year at 20-1, DJ at 20-1. I saw a video of DJ with just a crazy hook on, I think it was the last LIV tournament. It kind of looked like me with just a nasty banana hook off the tee. Jason Day at 20-1, Xander at 22, Morikawa at 22, Finau at 25, your guy there, Young at 25. Hove at 28 and Jordan Spieth there at 28. Any value at at 28-1 there for Spieth? I know you like to dig a little bit deeper, but talk to me about that bottom part of the board. I know you just mentioned Young to me.
It's tough because so many of these guys you could have gotten at much better odds a few weeks ago, a month ago in the futures market. Like I have a future on Cameron Young, I believe at 44-1. It is in our tracker. It's been in there. So whatever it is, it's been in there for a long time, but the value at this part of the board, I think, is all in anticipating the fact that they're going to be near the top of the odds board. Once the tournament actually comes time to play, I don't really see any value in this range at this point in time. It's worth remembering, a lot of these books are taking holds of 25% or something like that, even higher at times. So you might be able to say like, hey, I think Spieth is a better play than anybody else in this range, but he then still is at a price that isn't very fair and not very profitable. So I tend to ignore this part of the board, and this week is going to be no different.
So you've been all over it for weeks. That's the perks of being a sub over at ftnbets.com, following FTN alerts. But if somebody was just to stumble across the show today and they wanted to make a little bit of a wager, who would you pick on that board?
On this one here?
Yeah, on this one.
Top of the board. Man, I think you could go to Cameron Young still at 25-1. Finau at 25-1 is still interesting. I think those are the two that I would be picking between. The third one that has my attention is Xander Schauffele at 22-1. I think Cameron Young is my favorite at 25-1. But those are the 3 that catch my eye. I think everybody else, you're kind of definitely giving some expected value to the books.
I think so. And I think I heard you talk that in Pro versus Pro, which is a show that you guys should check out here on our FTN Network YouTube page as well. Any secrets you want to share from your episode this week and dive into the course fit model?
Yeah, let's go course fit.
Okay, let's do it.
So this is a really fun conversation because it's a different process to the model than what we usually have. So typically we're looking at data from a specific golf course, how guys have played at that golf course year after year. But obviously with Oak Hill, we don't have data like that. They're just not playing Oak Hill anywhere near enough. So this model is based on PGA Championship performance. It's an event fit model more so than a course fit model. And you might think, well, can you really do that and get something valuable? Because what if every single course is testing golfers in a different way? And it's a very fair question. And if that were the case, we would see a model that's pretty much centered around tour average weights throughout. So you can see the arrows on the screen that basically say, okay, distance, for example, has 2 upward arrows. That means the distance is really emphasized here above and beyond a typical golf tournament. So the fact that we're seeing such a unique model here, and it's such a strong and predictive model, tells us that it turns out that courses in the PGA Championship do test players in a very similar way year after year. And this could be because the PGA of America is selecting golf courses that are similar in nature. They are long, they're difficult, but I think it's also about the fact that they're setting up the golf courses in similar conditions. The really long, thick, rough, and the golf courses being as firm as they can get them, I think are producing such a unique model here. So we're seeing driving distance and around the green play really come to the forefront. Driving accuracy is a little bit less important. And that could just be because, everyone is going to miss these fairways at times. Everyone is going to have to hit from the rough. But there's also an element of being long off the tee is actually predictive of accuracy off the tee. If you can take some lines that widen fairways, we talked about this a bunch last week leading up to the Byron Nelson and how that was the case at a bunch of holes at TPC Craig Ranch. Maybe we'll see that again this week.
So that's why you kind of have your eye on Finau, I would assume, right? You're taking some bombers off the tee. Is there any bombers that are outside the top 20 that we just gave you for some odds that you feel like could surprise some people? Maybe they're hanging around heading into moving day.
Yeah, the most interesting one is Gary Woodland, because he is as long as they come. He's been driving the ball so well. His ball striking as a whole has been incredible. I'm also really looking at performance out of the rough and with long irons from approach play specifically. He checks those boxes with spades. The problem with him is his around the green play has been a mess all season. But in the last 2 weeks, he's showing some signs. Finally gained 2 weeks ago or 2 events ago, and then had his best around the green performance, I believe, since the U.S. Open last year. Something really long like that. Maybe it was the FedEx St. Jude, actually. I think just popped into my mind there. So it's been a long time since he had shown that kind of promise around the green. If that shows up this week, I think Gary Woodland's going to be in contention. It's really going to come down to that. And then, of course, his putter, which has been hit or miss. But if he's not making putts, this is the type of event, should be pretty low scoring, that even when he's missing putts, he should be able to hang in there. I think the bigger question for him is going to be that around the green play, because certainly off the tee and with his irons, I think he's as good as anybody in the world right now.
Like looking at it the other way around, and this goes against what you just talked about. We're talking about bombers off the tee and maybe not so much accuracy, and you're getting ahead of everybody else off the tee, and also, good iron play, whether it's in the rough or approach shots. Is there anybody the opposite way that you feel could make up strokes cleaning up around the green and just whether it's up and downs or draining putts, like hot putters, like anybody the other way that we can take a look at?
Yeah, it's a good question, because as I said, it does seem like everyone in the field is going to miss their fair share of fairways. Yeah. Everyone in the field is going to miss their fair share of greens. Cameron Smythe is a really interesting name. A live guy, finally seems to be playing well on the live tour. Coming into the Masters, you just had Brooks Koepka win. DJ had done some stuff, but DJ is also someone who's historically he doesn't really care about those events. So he can always turn it on. But Cameron Smythe had shown no signs whatsoever of good form. Now he's coming to a course that certainly his magical short game and putting, his just incredible scrambling ability, really could show up and allow him to kind of vault himself to the top of the leaderboard. Definitely a name that I'm looking at as a contrarian option on DraftKings.
I love that. He was in the back of my mind too, because the last time I think the entire world saw him before the Masters was the Open, right? When he was cleaning up around the greens. The short game was phenomenal. The putting was fantastic. I mean, he was going toe to toe with Rory, who couldn't make those putts, and he could, and ended up winning that. But you're right. I mean, I just haven't heard anything positive from him really at all in the live. And they were talking about him at the Masters, and he was just like, his game, he was just like, my game's garbage. Like, it's just awful. I can't put it together at all right now, but maybe he will be able to show up. You mentioned DraftKings. Is there anybody else, maybe before we get you out of here, like a sneaky little play or another contrarian play that you got your eye on?
Yeah, it's funny. I don't think he should be sneaky at all, but Keegan Bradley seems to be going under the radar again. He's just been a phenomenal player for his price all season, and he's been in these upper 7,000s all year, and I continue to play him event after event. And it's not necessarily that he's this great course fit. It's just he's a much better player than his price. I think he should be priced in those mid 8,000s along with Tyrrell Hatton, Matt Fitzpatrick, Hideki Matsuyama. That group, instead of this group down here in the mid to upper 7,000s. Again, he's like a phenomenal ball striker. He's going to drive the ball long and straight. He's great with his irons. He's great with his long irons. He's fine out of the rough. And he's also a very underrated player when it comes to his short game. It's really only the putting that's a question mark for him. Even that aspect of his game has been a lot better this season. So I am just continually betting on Keegan Bradley this year, and it has worked out far more often than it has hurt me.
Yeah, even just a few weeks ago when we had you on, we talked about him as like a 20-1. It was like I think it was like 4 or 5-1 at that point, and it cashed. I'm seeing Woodland now top 20 finish plus 410 over at FanDuel, BetMGM plus 280. I mean, that seems like a potential decent dart throw, or even top 30 is 2-1 Blickle for Woodland.
Yeah, and I only have 3 outrights from this week. It's Justin Thomas at 30-1. So you just posted that board earlier. He was 20 there, so I got him at 30.
Yeah, wild.
Now he's 20. Thigala 100-1. Keegan Bradley 125-1. Those are all at PointsBet. One of the reasons why I was able to get some better odds there. But yeah, Woodland, I think 110 was the best available a couple days ago. I probably would have bet that, honestly, if I didn't have a future on him at, I think, 150. It's either 150 or 125. So still playable, I think, anything at 100 or above on Woodland, especially if you can get some positional spots there with an each-way bet. Yeah, it's a fun board. And as we talked about, like, I think this is yet another event where all of the value is kind of at the bottom, where it's guys who have a genuine chance of contending and aren't priced as such.
Yeah, and Justin Thomas, I mean, as you see 20, you got 30. I'm seeing odds as short as 16-1 over at Bet Rivers and Caesars. Use our prop shop guys to get the best possible odds there for you. Thigala, what do you like about his game?
Kind of everything, honestly.
Yeah.
So
fair.
He's so much better than the fact that he hasn't won suggests. I also think that more so than Keegan Bradley, like you can make the same argument for both, that they are just generally underrated based on how they've played. But with Thigala, there's also a real element here that he is a great fit for this golf course. He's long off the tee. He's not accurate. Okay, point to Thigala there in course fit. And really, like, he even mentioned a few weeks ago, he basically said, I spent so much time trying to improve with my iron play. And finally I said, you know what, maybe I'm good enough with my iron play. My short game, I can turn it into one of the best short games in the world. And now I can survive my misses with my iron play and just kind of lean into the variance of my iron play. And I think he's done that quite well, and it should work well here, where basically if he can control his misses, he's going to hit his fair share close and give himself opportunities. But when he misses, as long as he's missing in an okay spot, he is so confident in his short game, as he should be, because it's an elite skill set, that he can just survive those misses. And as long as he's driving the ball pretty well, which he should do here, based on his length, then he's going to be in contention.
Yeah, he's strong off the tee. I agree. -5 is what Justin Thomas won here last season at Southern Hills. And in 2013, it was Duffner at -10. Got a prediction? We'll get you out of here in this. Prediction of the final score.
I was going to say something like -5 or even lower. Than I did see an interview with Joel Damon yesterday, where he was basically saying it's maybe not going to be as difficult as we think. The wind looks like it's going to be down at least tomorrow on Thursday. So I'm going to go with low double digits. Let's say 11 under.
Okay, 11 under. Giddy up. Love it, Alex. Always enjoy my conversations with you. Again, follow Alex on Twitter and check out the free Prize Picks Discord channel, the free Prize Picks pick entry. It's across all sports. It's not just golf, but Alex will be with you guys throughout the entire tournament. If you are subbed with us from a DFS standpoint, guys are going to be in there talking showdown every single round, getting you guys set and help with your lineups. And also, as I mentioned, Prize Picks, very, very successful. Alex is doing it. I'm seeing it consistently over at FTN with the pick entry. So again, I'll post that video that you and I did inside the link, inside the description here, so people can go check it out. If you're watching on Game Plus Network, just hop on over FTN Network YouTube page, check out the link, and talks about the strategy and bankroll management, absolutely everything to kind of help you get be a successful player when it comes to some pick entries. And I know a lot of people want to play like same game parlays and their books don't allow it. Well, Prize Picks, you can do that over there pretty easily. Thank you again, Alex, for your time. Enjoy the golf. Good luck with all your plays. And we'll catch up soon, buddy. Check out Pro versus Pro as well. Watch it tonight and get you set up for tomorrow and into the weekend. We'll be back in a couple. Peace, Blickle. We're going to talk a little NHL here next on Mean Streets. Keep her locked.
Play So Rare MLB, a free revolutionary fantasy game and marketplace that transforms fans into general managers. Build your team with ownable digital player cards. Collect, buy, sell, and trade to optimize your lineup. Compete against So Rare managers from around the world. Climb leaderboards and advance to elite competitions. Based on your player's performance on the field, win rewards like game tickets, merch, and much more. Draft your set of free cards now at sorare.com/MLB. Play So Rare MLB, a free revolutionary fantasy game and marketplace that transforms fans into general managers. Build your team with ownable digital player cards. Collect, buy, sell, and trade to optimize your lineup. Compete against So Rare managers from around the world. Climb leaderboards and advance to elite competitions. Based on your player's performance on the field, win rewards like game tickets, merch, and much more. Draft your set of free cards now at sorare.com/MLB.
Let's talk a little hockey, a little NHL. It all gets underway tomorrow. We had a night off yesterday. We have a night off today, a night to regroup here. I'm trying to regroup as well. A little sluggish, not going to lie. But it does get underway tomorrow between the Hurricanes and the Florida Panthers. And I mean, what can we say about the Florida Panthers? It's just this run that they're on. It's amazing. And, you know, if you're on the outside looking in, you may think, what the heck? Like, what's going on here with this Florida Panthers team? But last year, this was the best team in the NHL. They won the President's Trophy. We've talked at length about the President's Trophy curse. I think it's been handed out 33 times, and 8 teams have won the Stanley Cup as well as the President's Trophy. We've only seen it twice in the salary cap era since 2005. The Hurricanes we have seen it twice. 3 teams went to the finals. The Blackhawks were the last team, and the Detroit Red Wings were another team that won the Stanley Cup. The Hurricanes went on a couple runs, but I don't believe that they won the President's Trophy. But nonetheless, like, it is a little shocking. But this Panthers team, Matthew Tkachuk, like, what can you say about Matthew Tkachuk? I mean, moving on from Jonathan Huberdeau and getting a guy like Tkachuk, I mean, he's been unbelievable. I know he didn't score a goal in the second round against the Toronto Maple Leafs. And I know that the Leafs core 4, they're taking some heat here. You know, 0 goals from Austin Matthews, 0 goals from Jonathan Taves. John Tavares, excuse me, I told you sluggish. Those 2 guys make a lot of money and they need to score goals. Or Matthew Tkachuk didn't score any goals either, but nobody's looking at him like, he was a disappointment. He does a lot of different little things, and he did show up in the box score quite a bit. But we do have Florida and Carolina, and we do have some boards. So let's just start here. So this is game 1. These are the odds for game 1. I'll roll through some series odds and I'll roll through some series props, but I'm going to hammer everything in tomorrow. We're going to have Dangle Betzelli live tomorrow with myself and Eric Young, and Steve Dangle. I want to give him some love too for joining Eric yesterday and walking through what happened to the Maple Leafs and heading into the conference finals. But Eric and I will roll through all of this, and here on this show as well, we'll have some series props with you guys, and it'll all be in the FTN bet tracker. But this is just for game 1 overall. In terms of just The series itself, of course, Carolina not just favored to win game one, which will happen in Raleigh in Carolina. They're also favored to win the Stanley Cup and, of course, win this series overall. 5.5 for game one, Florida plus 125. I got to lean to the Panthers right now. I really do. And I know people that have been following my work, people think I'm a Carolina hater. It's just like, you're a Hurricanes hater. I'm not. I'm actually not. I've been down the Hurricanes road a couple times over the past couple years as a team that I really liked. And believe it or not, I probably would have had them to this point had they had a guy like Andrei Svechnikov or, I mean, Teuvo Teravainen broke his hand in the opening round, but also Max Pacioretty, who was only with the team for a couple weeks, but even still, a big loss, right, to the overall outlook of this squad. But nonetheless, this Hurricanes team's playing really good. I don't want to take anything away from him. Rod Brind'Amour is arguably the best coach in the NHL, and he's proving it at the moment. He's got this team absolutely playing, and I mean, they're heavy on the forecheck. They get the best penalty kill in the league. Their power play is not phenomenal, but they do have the special teams edge here. Florida's power play does have certainly a higher ceiling, but their penalty kill is not great. Both teams drive offense. They both do a really good job of creating scoring chances at 5-5, and the Hurricanes just do a great job at eliminating them. Florida doesn't do as good of a job at eliminating high danger chances, but just look at the two teams that they played in the opening round. I mean, the Boston Bruins and the Toronto Maple Leafs have more firepower than the Carolina Hurricanes. And it really is about Sergei Bobrovsky. Like, how long can he keep this up? He's just been absolutely electrifying here in the playoffs. He's been so good. And it's been one of the biggest surprises. So I think the series will go 6 or 7. I'm probably going to lean with Florida in 7, which means they will have to win at least one game in Raleigh, in Carolina, which is a tough place to play hockey. The Hurricanes have been one of the better home teams in the NHL over the past 3 or 4 seasons, and they do struggle to pick up W's on the road. And in the playoffs, they have over the past couple seasons, but they do have a couple big ones here. I'm going to roll through some stuff on DraftKings. Matthew Tkachuk is the favorite here to lead the series in goals at 4-1. Sebastian Aho at plus 450. Carter Verhaeghe at 650. Martin Necas at 8-1, Barkov at 10-1, Seth Jarvis at 11-1, Bennett at 14-1, and I'll stop at Sam Reinhart at 17-1. I will give a little bit of love to Jesperi Kotkaniemi here at 19-1 and Jordan Martinook at 22-1. That line, those two have been really good for the Hurricanes. Aho was good in round 1, pretty quiet in round 2. Necas has been pretty quiet overall as well. He did have a couple big goals in the second round, but I think Carter Verhaeghe is pretty interesting to me at plus 650 to lead this series in goals. And you can look at head-to-head goals as well. He's matched up with Seth Jarvis, and he's a slight favorite at minus 130. Seth Jarvis is plus 100 up on that top line with Sebastian Aho. I'm going to lean here with Verhaeghe again at minus 130. I think, he's just he's just a sniper, and he moves up and down the lineup. I mean, he moves sometimes he's up on that first line, with Barkov, which I think he's better suited to play with Barkov there. And they get Bennett and Matthew Tkachuk on that second line. I'm not going to lie. When they put Verhaeghe with Tkachuk and Bennett, it's probably one of the better lines I've ever seen this season. They got a little bit of everything on it. Matthew Tkachuk is a terrific playmaker, and Bennett is just in your face, heavy on the forecheck. I mean, he wins a lot of battles in the corners, and Verhaeghe's just a finisher. He can score goals. So Brendan Montour versus Brent Burns. It's probably I'm just going to stay away from that one. 2 defensemen. These guys are both volume shooters. They're both inside the top 10 in terms of shot attempts at 5-5. So they're both going to bring it. They're both on the top power plays as well. I would lean probably to Montour from what we've seen from him throughout the entire season and into the playoffs. He's not afraid to jump up in the rush. But it's, like I said, it's a stay away. Martin Necas at minus 120 over Barkov. I do like that one. Barkov, bit of a pass first guy. I'd like to see him shoot the puck a little bit more, where Necas is on that first power play, and he is the shooter on that power play, where you can't really say the same for Barkov. Sam Reinhart versus Sam Bennett. I probably have a lean here to Sam Reinhart. It's the battle of the Sams. Let's take Reinhart here at plus 100. Been pretty good. That third line has been really solid for the Florida Panthers. I thought it was a big difference maker for the Panthers against the Maple Leafs. They just really couldn't match up against that line, and they scored some big goals. Reinhart with Lundell and Listerainen. So I would lean with Reinhart there. He's still on that first power play, even though he is on that third line at plus 100. And then Matthew Tkachuk versus Sebastian Aho. I'm just clearly all in on the Panthers here. Somebody's in the back of my head telling me, keep picking against Carolina. Keep picking against Carolina. and I am. So that's good for you and the Hurricanes. Let's switch over. As I said, I am going to lean with the Florida Panthers here in 7. Let's switch over to this series. This one should be phenomenal. Not that the other one won't be either, but this one I think has the maybe potential to be more high scoring, highly entertaining. I mean, Dallas Stars and the Seattle Kraken played to the over in every single game but one. I was very, very highly entertaining. Jonathan Marchessault, he had a fantastic second round when I was in the building in Edmonton. I thought he was arguably the best player on the ice. Clearly, Connor McDavid stands out. I've seen that guy live now twice, and he's just so fun to watch. His stride from blue line to blue line, it's like one stride. But Jonathan Marchessault really woke up in this series against the Oilers. 5 goals. 10 points here in the playoffs. And what can you say about Rupe Hintz? 9 goals. He's got 19 points in the playoffs. He's just behind Connor McDavid, who has 20 points. He's been phenomenal. And, Jason Robertson has 2 goals. And Joe Pavelski's been really good as well. But it's been Rupe Hintz who has showed up in a big way. I'm in on the Stars. I know it's, if you've been following Not Breaking Any News, we jumped in on the Dallas Stars at 18-1 to win the Stanley Cup when they acquired Max Domi and Evgeny Dadonov. Both guys, really strong showings here in the playoff. I mean, Domi's got 11 points and he's got 3 goals. Dadonov with that second line with Wyatt Johnson and Jamie Benn have been really good as well. Both teams are extremely deep. I got to give the edge to Jake Ottinger. That's it. And Ottinger wasn't great against the Kraken. He got pulled a couple times, and the Kraken just continued. They led the NHL in 5-on-5 shooting percentage and road goals, and they just carried on over into the playoffs. But Jake Ottinger, we have a Conn Smythe future. We can transition here if you want. Quan, we got some Stanley Cup odds, and we got Conn Smythe odds here. We can leave it here. But Jake Ottinger at with Dane Martinez in the data cast over at FTN, we gave 29-1 for Jake Ottinger to win the Conn Smythe. I believe we have 22-1 for him to win the Conn Smythe in the FTN bet tracker. He's now currently at 15-1. There's something to be said about Jason Robertson at 25-1. I understand that he only has 2 goals and 11 points, 10 points here in the playoffs, but the Conn Smythe really is about the final round. And if Jason Robertson pops off for, 5 or 6 goals, and is a difference maker in that Stanley Cup Finals, he could easily win the award. And if he has a really strong showing here against the Vegas Golden Knights, where he starts to score, like, this is a guy that scored 46 goals in the regular season. That's it, right? A couple puck luck hasn't been there. He's missing the net. He's still getting some attempts. Krakener, they have a shutdown line in Yanni Gourde. Like, Yanni Gourde had a really good playoff, and it's going to be a breath of fresh air, I think, for Jason Robertson and that line to get out. I mean, it didn't stop Hintz or Pavelski, but he did slow down Jason Robertson. It's going to be a breath of fresh air to kind of get away from the tight checking of Yanni Gourde. The Golden Knights do have some, William Karlsson and Mark Stone, but Yanni Gourde is just a guy that's in your face all the time. And he's a big reason why the Lightning won those back-to-back cups and went to the finals 3 straight years. But Ahu's up at the top at 6-1. Eichel is 6-1 as well. Matthew Tkachuk at 750. Rope Hintz at 9-1 with Frederik Andersen there as well. Bobrovsky at 10-1. I'll tell you what, if the Panthers win the cup, it's going to be Bobrovsky. Like, Matthew Tkachuk is plus 750, but the reason that they're this far, even though they won the expected goals for, versus the Leafs, I think in every game but one, Bobrovsky is going to be the reason if the Panthers do win the Stanley Cup. I mean, we're going to give a lot of love to Matthew Tkachuk, but, just for example, if they gave out an MVP versus Panthers and Leafs, who would have won that? It would have been Bobrovsky. Mark Stone at 10-1, Pavelski at 15-1, Ottinger, as I mentioned, at 15, Carter Verhaeghe also there, Natchez at 18, Burns at 22, Martinook. If I would have told you that Jordan Martinook would be 22-1 at this point, you would have called me crazy. You would have said you're a lunatic. But this guy's been phenomenal, and we've talked about him. Plus money for a point, shot prop 1.5. He's been good. He's been in your face. He's finishing checks. He doesn't get any power play time. He's averaging just over a minute and a half more here in the playoffs than he did in the regular season because of some of the injuries with the Hurricanes as well. Heiskanen at 25-1 and Robertson. So on this board, I mean, you want to pick a guy that you think is going to win the Stanley Cup. And I do like this Dallas Stars team. I think that they're just as deep as Vegas. I think Vegas does have an edge on the blue line, but it's just a slight edge. But I think in goal, even though Aiden Hill has stepped in, he's been really good for the Golden Knights, filling in for all the injuries that they've had. I do believe that Jake Ottinger is just a game changer. I think he could be a difference maker. And I think with Dallas, they're so they have a lot of firepower up and down their lineup, especially with that top line, that if Hintz and Pavelski and Robertson all have great series and they're all in a line and they combine for, I don't know, 7 or 8 goals. Who are you going to pick out of those guys? And I've seen so many times the voters just lean to the goaltender, the standout there. So I do think that there's still a lot of value there at 15-1. And I think Jason Robertson in there as well. I'll roll through this. If you want to go back to, I'll just show people the Stanley Cup odds overall. We'll have this tomorrow on Dangle Bet Sally. So Hurricanes at plus 225, the Golden Knights at plus 260, the Stars there at plus 310, and Florida at plus 330. So, you can get yourself a pretty decent exact match in terms of odds for Dallas and Florida if you want to go that way. That is the way that I'm going to go. And then we'll get out of here. I do want to say that I like Hintz over Eichel for most goals in this series. I'm going to give you my favorite plays tomorrow. We'll present them, but I don't think the odds will change too much here, but minus 110 for Hintz. He's a shooter, guys. He's a volume shooter. Jack Eichel, you can view him that way as a volume shooter too if you want, but in my opinion, he's a pass-first guy. He looks to set up his players first, and we saw that in the second round with Jonathan Marchessault. And Marchessault is wrapped up here with Jason Robertson at plus 105 for Jonathan Marchessault and minus 135 for Robertson. I mean, 2 goals. I expect him to turn it around, but Marchessault is feeling it right now with Eichel. I like that at plus 105, and I'll just stay away from Pavelski versus Stone because that's minus 150. But I do have a lean to Sagan at minus 115 over Chandler Stevenson as well. Stevenson was taken off that first power play at times. It could happen where Sagan does still get a little bit of time up on that top power play here and there with the Dallas Stars. Went a little long there in that block, but I know people are here for the puck talk. So we're going to switch gears here a little bit. Got some MLB and some NBA talk here next on Mean Streets. Keep her locked.
Play So Rare MLB, a free revolutionary fantasy game and marketplace that transforms fans into general managers. Build your team with ownable digital player cards. Collect, buy, sell, and trade to optimize your lineup. Compete against So Rare managers from around the world. Climb leaderboards and advance to elite competitions. Based on your player's performance on the field, win rewards like game tickets, merch, and much more. Draft your set of free cards now at sorare.com/MLB.
The future of fantasy sports is here with So Rare. Build your teams just like an owner. Buy, sell, or trade officially licensed digital player cards. Build your 5-player weekly lineup, and you could win rewards like tickets, autographed jerseys, and more. The future of fantasy sports is here with So Rare, taking Dynasty to the next level.
Welcome back in. We'll save the MLB and the NBA talk for the final 2 blocks. Quan, we got some news from the Arizona Coyotes this morning. If we can chuck that up here, and then we'll talk about the Dalvin Cook stuff that's happening here a little bit in the NFL. There's not, there's no real breaking news when it comes to Cook, but let's start here with a tweet from the Arizona Coyotes this morning. Quote, "We are very disappointed. Tempe voters did not approve propositions 301, 302, and 303. As Tempe Mayor Corey Woods said, it was the best sports deal in Arizona history. The Coyotes wish to thank everyone who supported our efforts and voted yes." So I don't know fully what this means as of yet, but it does sound like, listen, I mean, the Coyotes, this is a team that just hasn't been able to get the support over the past few years. And, they built a smaller arena, downtown Arizona to have like a little bit of a university feel, see if they can, get some support, fill the building, only holding roughly 5,000 people and still really not filling that barn. And I know that there's some Coyotes fans here that are part of the show, part of the family over at Dangle Batselli, MMA Diehard Podcast, thinking about you. I know you're a supporter and there's a few people that are supporters for the Coyotes, but plug your ears. They got to move. Got to move them. I'd love to see them go to Quebec. I'd love to see a team in Quebec. I know some people talk about a team in Hamilton, Ontario, create a rivalry with Toronto. I don't think you need that because of the rivalry, but they could support a team there for sure. There's a couple teams already in Ontario. Do you need another team in Ontario just because the Leafs can't win the cup? I don't think you need to have another one there in Hamilton. Shots fired, I know. But Quebec would do good. Let's bring another team to Quebec. You watch some of the playoffs like Laval or other teams at Quebec. They fill the barn. I mean, it's bumping there and it's just AHL games. Like, you know what I mean? It's Quebec Major Junior Hockey League games. It's not the NHL where in Arizona, they're just not getting the support. So I selfishly would like to see another team north of the border, whether it's Quebec. I would take Hamilton. The East Coast would be fun. Never going to happen. But Halifax put on a show in the last two World Juniors. Like this recent one was packed. It was great atmosphere all the time in Halifax. And then even I think they had the last one in maybe 2004. Was it Ovechkin's? I think it was Ovechkin's rookie year, roughly in around there, where they had the World Juniors in Halifax, and it was a great showing there as well. But I just don't think that they can get the support from people from PEI. New Brunswick would have to come in. Just not enough people there to get the support. Like Bettman would never do that. But, Kansas City, Houston, those are two teams as well, potential landing spots. As for Cook, we'll talk about the Cook thing here for a second. Dalvin Cook, it's really just from Minnesota's Twitter. They removed Dalvin Cook from their banner up at the top. There's like a few other players there, and they put Alexander Madison there. They replaced him. So I don't know who, keeps an eye on all these things. I really don't know. Maybe it's leaked. Maybe somebody on the social team for the Vikings, tells a buddy and a buddy tells a buddy, and then they talk about, Dalvin Cook, and then it's all over the place, and that's all everybody seems to be talking about. But they do save themselves some bucks if they do release him by June 1st. So that is something that does sound like it's going to happen. It really does sound like that's a possibility. So we'll see where Dalvin Cook lands. Where are some landing spots for him? The Chargers do come to mind. I don't know if they go down that road, but I think Zeke would be a good landing spot for LA. With Austin Eckler probably gone in a year, it doesn't seem like they're going to lock him up. They could. I mean, things change from a day-to-day basis, but why I put the Chargers out there, because they're just a team that continues to, draft guys and just to kind of not take away a ton of touches from Eckler, because he's been phenomenal for a couple of years now. I mean, I believe he leads the NFL in touchdowns over the past 2 seasons, and inside the red zone, he gets the targets, he gets the touches. I mean, he's good near the goal line, even though he's kind of built smaller than your prototypical, lead running back. But they have drafted guys like Joshua Kelly and Larry Roundtree, and just, I don't know, they had Justin Jackson on the squad. There's just a bunch of guys to kind of ease off some of that workload and first and second down workload that Eckler has been getting over the past couple of years. So I just think maybe Zeke is probably more suited, maybe a little bit cheaper, could do something on like a minimum contract. But I wouldn't be shocked if the Vikings were in play. And you know what? I also wouldn't be shocked if the Miami Dolphins are in play. And I know that they brought back Jeff Wilson and they got a ton of backs and they got Raheem Mostert and they drafted Devon Achane, who I like as well. But I wouldn't be shocked if a team like that kind of went in, just because McDaniel comes from Shanahan and multiple backs, and these guys love running backs and the guys in motion and the way that they run some of their schemes, and they do a really good job of that. But Dalvin Cook's a really good running back. I mean, he would go, I think the best landing spot for him is Minnesota. Personally, I think he should stay in Minnesota, and like from a fantasy standpoint, that would be the best landing spot. I mean, this guy last year from a fantasy standpoint, I mean, he finishes his RB9 overall That is in your, your half point setting. But what he can offer to the table, I mean, this has got 39 grabs. I mean, he's a bell cow back. I still think he has a ton to offer in the NFL. 1,100 yards last year. You go back and look at every single year. I mean, the first couple of years were a little rocky. I mean, he's only had one full season in the NFL, and this was his most recent one. But 1,100 yards at least in 4 straight seasons. He had nearly 1,600 yards in 2020. He's a guy that's racked up 30 plus catches in 5 straight campaigns. He's hit the 40 catch mark 3 times in his career. He just still has a lot to offer. And he's 27 years old. So he's still got a couple, I think, like maybe not elite, but close to it, seasons left. Whoever does get him, it will be a really good get, most likely from an NFL standpoint. We're going to talk MLB here next on Mean Streets. Got a couple picks for you guys. Hang tight.
Play So Rare MLB, a free revolutionary fantasy game and marketplace that transforms fans into general managers. Build your team with ownable digital player cards. Collect, buy, sell, and trade to optimize your lineup. Compete against So Rare managers from around the world. Climb leaderboards and advance to elite competitions. Based on your player's performance on the field, win rewards like game tickets, merch, and much more. Draft your set of free cards now at sorare.com/MLB. Play So Rare MLB, a free revolutionary fantasy game and marketplace that transforms fans into general managers. Build your team with ownable digital player cards. Collect, buy, sell, and trade to optimize your lineup. Compete against So Rare managers from around the world. Climb leaderboards and advance to elite competitions. Based on your player's performance on the field, win rewards like game tickets, merch, and much more. Draft your set of free cards now at sorare.com/MLB.
Again, I got a couple MLB props here for you guys. I got some team totals that I want to take a look at here. Let's start with the Baltimore Orioles. It's kind of like a team that I've been riding. Every time Dream comes on, I talk about them a little bit, and I just like their offense. I think they're sneaky good, and last year they were one of the better teams in baseball down the stretch of the season, and we're really seeing it from them this year. So they have a matchup against Griffin Canning, and it's in Baltimore, and we've seen some runs so far. We've seen some bombs, even though we don't see as many bombs at Camden like we have in the past with some of the changes, dimensions to the fences and things like that. But Baltimore here at over 4.5 runs at -112. I saw that at Unibet. DraftKings is hanging around -120, but really just kind of picking on Griffin Canning here a little bit. He's got a bit of swing and miss in his game. There's no question, but he's a fly ball pitcher. And I do see the wind blowing in here around 9 miles an hour straight in to like second base, home plate, but I'm still going to lean here with the Baltimore Orioles. I like them on the money lines. It's a little bit juiced at -145, but I do think that they're going to win the game. Kyle Bradish on the bump for the O's, and this is more so about Griffin Canning. Again, fly ball pitcher. I would take a look at maybe Ryan Mountcastle or Anthony Santander. The lineup is not out just yet, but those are the 2 power hitters that I would really take a look at, or maybe the lefty Cedric Mullins as well. Yeah, fly ball pitcher. I think we can get 5 runs here. The other one is another total here, the Houston Astros. The Astros not as strong this year as years past, but I don't really believe in Drew Smythe. And Drew Smythe's had a couple nice showings this season. His ERA is lower than his xFIP. I think he's been a little bit lucky. He had a great showing against the Dodgers where he fanned 10. Like, this is the second time facing him in about a week, and he was really good there. But I'm just not a full believer. I'm not. And I know this Astros lineup, they got some lefties in it like Alvarez and Tucker, and we haven't seen Alex Bregman really play good at all. Like, Alex Bregman, I'm looking now, his FanDuel price is like 2.8. It's basically free. What's happening? Alex Bregman used to own lefties. He used to own southpaws. He had like a $1.38 against them this year, but he has been a little bit better lately. But I'm taking the Astros over 4.5, and then a little bit of a strikeout prop here with Matthew Liberatore. He's at 4.5 strikeouts at -125. He's got a really good matchup today against the Milwaukee Brewers, who are inside the top 10 in terms of strikeout percentage. So this is going to be the first start this season from him. But Matthews had 7 starts in his MLB career. But this year in the minors, he's only around an 8K per 9 guy for his career. But this year in the minors, he's just around 11K per 9. He's got 46 innings and he's punched out 56 batters. So just need 5 strikeouts from him today against the Brewers. I love it. We're going to break one more time. And I'm going to show you quickly the NBA mock. I'm going to dive deeper into it, Zach, a little bit later on in the week because he is the NBA guru. But I'm going to show you just a little bit of a sneak peek of what I have together for the top 10 here next on Mean Streets. Here it is, the top 10. Of course, the Spurs are going to take Victor Wembanyama. I mean, this guy, how lucky are the Spurs? Are you kidding me? The Twin Towers, they got Tim Duncan and David Robinson years ago. They're going to get Wemby here. And a shout out again to Zach, who's going to join us in later on in the week to kind of roll through his thoughts on potential mock. But, you know, at 7'4", he's going to be the tallest player in the NBA right away in the league. He could do it all. He really can. Offensively, defensively, I know a lot is made sometimes of these like tall, lanky players are kind of hit or miss, but this really is the best prospect we've seen since LeBron James. And the hype is real. It's maybe a little bit unfair. They're already calling him a first ballot Hall of Famer. I think we need to relax just a little bit, but he is going to be a fantastic player in the NBA, a fantastic fantasy player as well. He can absolutely do it all. I got Scoot Henderson there at pick 2, not Brandon Miller. You got the twins here and Amen Thompson. Asur Thompson there as well. I got them going. I got him, Asur going to the Magic, and then Amen going to the Rockets, and then Cam Whitmore to the Pistons here. Jarris Walker to the Pacers. Anthony Black, point guard there to the Wizards. Cason Wallace, also another point guard to the Jazz. And Taylor Hendricks probably goes a little bit earlier. I think it'd be a perfect fit for the Mavericks. Is a player that can do a lot of good things. Really jumped up the draft board this season, and a good defensive player there as well. But Wemby's the guy. And I tell you what, from a redraft standpoint, this guy's going to go pretty early in your fantasy basketball leagues as well. But I just wanted to show you guys a little bit of sneak peek, and we'll dive deeper into it as we get later on in the week. We'll talk to you guys soon. Have a good one. Cheers.